What's good, everyone? This your main correspondent, Alan Taylor, and I'm back in the broadcast room. So, this is something that's seeming to go viral on TikTok here. 100 men versus one gorilla, and of course, everybody's talking about it. So, yeah, I'm gonna put my quarters, nickels, and dimes in on it too. All right. So we're going to check out a few videos here. And as we go through these things, of course, I'm going to give my commentary on what everybody's saying. Let's go here now. Quarters, nickels, and dimes, people.
I think it's crazy that these men are having this conversation about 100 men versus a gorilla. And then this chick gonna come out here and talk about that's thinly veiled sexism. Bro, they're having a stupid conversation about a hypothetical that's never gonna happen. Men have these conversations all the time amongst their friend group. It's not an
technically we do that, just shooting the shit, having fun, talking shit with the bros.
uncommon thing. Then you want to come out here and talk about, oh well, I think women would be better at this anyway. If you want to believe that, go ahead. Have that conversation amongst you and all the other women. We're gonna keep talking about this. Personally, I think 100 men win. That's just my take on it. I think it's crazy that these.
Now, I definitely agree with the situation that 100 men would win this fact and things like that. I mean, let's just be honest here. It's 100 men and, one gorilla. It doesn't make any sense that they wouldn't win. So we're going to go here now. And of course, we're going to get more logical common sense into the game here. Let's check out and see what this lady here has to say.
Odds are tipped in favor of the men in this situation. The men, yes, the men. And it's really about the sheer number, right? It's that you've got 100 men. So there's the opportunity to collaborate, to tag team, to come up with strategies. And the gorilla, I think, just over time would be worn down because it's just one of them kind of coming up against such a large number of individuals.
How long are we talking? Days?
I would hope not.
Where would you even start? These things are enormous.
They are, but I do think that perhaps their size and strength has been a little exaggerated in some of these conversations. I think a lot of people are thinking of truly a King Kong like beast. And yes, they are huge. Male gorillas are 400 pounds, largest primate on the planet, incredible upper body strength, incredible jaw strength. But we estimate that they're about 4 to 10 times as strong as a person. So you figure you've got 10 times as many people there coming up after them.
So, of course, to me, that would make sense. Listen, look, this is the thing here. 100 men, now, allegedly, of course, the theory here is it's 100 men, bare hands, no weapons. And, of course, the gorilla doesn't have any weapons as well, of course. So 100 men, bare hand. Now, of course, I'm going to be logical with the situation. Now, the first few that rush in at first, of course, would be severely injured. Definitely some legs will be broken, some chests will be caved in, possibly a head or two, things like that. But in all reality, the gorilla is still a living, breathing animal. Every living, breathing animal gets tired. And you're talking about 100 men rushing one gorilla, even though, of course, some will get taken out. Of course, it's still 100 men. If the gorilla was to take out maybe 15, 20, then you got a whole 60 something left, of if people just steadily constantly rushing. So, I mean, all right, we're going to keep going here and see what else is going down the pipeline with this topic right here.
I'm kind of late to this conversation, but I'm honestly so tired of seeing it. And it's frustrating me. Ignore that I only have lashes on one of my eyes.
Okay.
The gorilla versus man debate. The gorilla's not fucking winning. He's not winning against 100 men. Y'all, we literally have evidence that the gorilla would not survive. We are at the top of the food chain. We're at the top of the food chain, bro. Did y'all forget that hundreds of years ago, we were fighting woolly fucking mammoths, butt ass naked. Okay,
okay. Now hold on here to speak on that, to give fair exchange on what she's saying about that. Yes, we are at the top of the food chain, of course. Okay, You know what I'm saying? And woolly mammoths, yes, the prehistoric men did fight those, but they did have spears. Let's be fair about this situation. They had spears and knives made out of I think it's quartzite, something like that. But it's a rock that you break, you chip off of basically, and you can make a very sharp tool. I'm pretty sure people out there, you've seen these types of things in museums, History Channel, stuff like that. They show that these things did exist. So yeah, to be fair with it, those men did have spears and other tools that they used to kind of take down woolly mammoths, but they also did do it in numbers. It wasn't just one dude out there fighting a woolly mammoth. They did it in big numbers too. So yeah, it took big numbers to take these type of beasts down.
Was fighting whole saber-toothed tigers with our asses out with rocks. Like, come the fuck on. Like,
yeah, they did use rocks too.
That's the part that I'm confused on how y'all not understanding that. And then okay. Because I also feel like I don't like scenarios like this, because with scenarios like this, everybody have a different interpretation of how they see the fight going, right? And the way that I'm seeing it is, there's no situation where a person is not going to be able to create a makeshift weapon. Okay, I understand that this is supposed to be a bare hand fight, but this is just not realistic. If this is going to be a scenario where it's 100 men against one gorilla, a man is not going to not grab something to protect themselves. That is what makes us the top of the food chain. That's what makes us more equipped to handle situations than fucking animals, because we can actually use our fucking brain. We're smart enough to know that a gorilla is stronger than us, so we're going to have to get something else to protect ourselves. That's what.
Okay, so she's talking logic out here too now.
So what the French toast is there to think about?
She's talking logic. Let's say, yeah, they are engaging this gorilla in the middle, 100 men engaging this gorilla. Yeah, and they put the barehanded situation in there, I guess, to even the odds, whatever. But the thing of this is just human beings do instinctively grab things and stuff like that to defend themselves. I mean, we see it in fights all the time. If you ever seen a fight in school, high school, whatever, you know what I'm saying? You just grab shit, you know what I'm saying? When you're in a heated battle, you don't, I mean, even fist to fist, at some point, if you're capable of grabbing something, you're going to grab something. Like, she is speaking logic about this. In reality, 100 men, even if they were to at first start to engage barehanded, eventually motherfuckers gonna grab something, bro. I mean, just being logical about the situation. Just being logical about the situation.
What makes us different from animals. So obviously we're gonna grab a fucking rock or a stick. We don't need no fucking gun. All we need is a fucking rock and a stick. Yes, I recognize that if you punch a gorilla, then the gorilla's barely gonna feel it. Why the fuck would you sock a gorilla? You wouldn't do that. I also don't like the fact that nobody else is taking under consideration that we would devise a plan. There will be a strategy. I also want y'all all to stop thinking. This is another thing. People keep on thinking about the scenario, talk about something. Oh, people are going to go in this blind. There is not a single person on this fucking planet who is about to volunteer to fight a gorilla and then go into this cage thinking that without a strategy. If a person has volunteered to fight a fucking gorilla, they are prepared to fight that fucking gorilla. They're prepared to fight the fucking gorilla. The fear of fighting the gorilla is not going to kick in. The adrenaline will kick in. Anybody volunteering to do that, they're adrenaline junkies. Okay. Anybody that would jump out of a fucking plane and not get chickened out, they'll be able to do it. Anybody that's a part of the military, anybody that's a part of the fucking Navy. We literally have people that are risking their lives to protect us right now. So I'm trying to figure out what the fuck would make you think Crocodile Dundee. We literally, there's people out here in the jungles right now attacking wild animals for our entertainment.
She talking about Steve Irwin. If y'all remember Steve Irwin back in the day, shout out to him, R.I.P.
So what the French toast is there to think about?
R.I.P. to Steve Irwin. I used to enjoy watching Steve Irwin. You know what I'm saying? He'd get out there with the alligators and crocodiles. He was dead serious, bro. And they would, be honest with you, it was a mutual respect for some reason. I don't know what type of mystical power Steve Irwin had over these those beasts, those crocodiles and alligators, but Steve Irwin did that for years. I'm talking about decades, man. But okay then. All right, so we're gonna keep going here. And I got another angle that we're going to see from this young lady right here. And I think this is the young lady that the man that I showed you at first was talking about, it being, Let's just go here, man. Quarters, nickels, and dimes, people.
I think 100 humans in general would get curb stomped by the gorilla. Because there's so many logistical reasons why it would not be possible to carry out a coordinated attack against the gorilla under the parameters of the specific prompt. Most people are not recognizing that kicks and hits against a gorilla would hurt you more than it would hurt it. Like, kicking its skull would be like kicking a bowling ball. Any man who thinks that women would not have a better chance at this task is ignoring the fact that this prompt relies upon like organization of mass numbers, and women have better organizational skills, not because we're innately gifted with it, but because society trains us to. I would argue that the hubris and ego of men that we're seeing in a lot of these responses of being like, oh yeah, men would get this, would get a lot of them killed because you're underestimating your opponent and overestimating your own skill. Expectation would quickly meet reality, and reality would bitch slap you in the face. Once that happens, all that hubris just melts on away. Let's actually get into it. Let's take out the idea that there would be men who would run away from the fight completely once they see other men get eviscerated. Let's think about the logistical reasons why that this fight would not turn out well. One creator talk about one thing being a factor as like the randomization of ages. Not all of these men are going to be from the same age group. There's going to be different heights, different strengths, different fitness levels. A lot of y'all are going to get winded just running to the gorilla. But also, you have 100 men running towards a gorilla. Once he starts to attack that first row of men, they're falling down.
Okay. So she brought up the fact about different ages, different health factors, things like that. Who's in shape, who's not in shape, things like that. Okay. All right. So let's go with this scenario here and say that this is true. Okay, if that's the case, then it's still 100 men. Now, and then we also have to add in the factor of what's the distance between the group of men and the gorilla. What's the distance? Are we running across a football field and the gorilla just standing on one side waiting for us, and we're standing on one side waiting for the challenge? Like, what's
What's the French toast is there to think about?
how is this going to happen? I get what she trying to go with the shit. It's crazy, but how is that going to happen? What is going to be a standoff real quick between 100 men and the gorilla, and we got to run and charge? And oh my goodness. Woo, okay. Wow, okay. So yeah. But most gorillas are actually in jungles, so they're not out in open plains and things, open fields and stuff like that, waiting to be charged. So 100 men running through the jungle, and with one gorilla, it's that. Okay, let's just keep going
down and or landing on top of other men. Those men are now out of commission and or tripping over themselves to get towards him, and while that's happening, more men are running over them and trampling them. Keep seeing men saying, oh, we'll just tire him out.
No. Even with no weapons, it's still going to be strategy that needs to be put in place, because men think like that when we get in groups. If y'all seen any of these survival shows out here, when the men get on there and it's time for survival, yes, we break things down and we put things in categories because, we know better. We know to do this in order to make sure that everything works properly, like an engine. Every piece of the engine in your car has a proper place and it's there for a reason, and it has a purpose.
We'll just tire him out. To be able to successfully beat the gorilla, to unalive the gorilla, you have to not only tire him out, but then find a way to unalive him after you tired him out. In history, we've done this with tools. And like I said earlier, your bare hands or feet are not going to be very strong weapons against a gorilla. They have strong muscle mass and tough skin and fur and bone structure that allows them to be able to tank hits from a puny human. Once you've gotten him down, how are you going to beat him? The best thing that you have at your disposal is either strangulation or just piling on top of it and crushing it or making it so that he can't breathe. Again, this is where numbers come into play, because you are going to lose a sizable amount of men, one from his attacks, two from getting trampled on top of by other men as they're running towards him. Some men are going to dip away out of fear, even if they don't disengage from the fight completely, but that hesitation will be enough for him to take out some. And very quickly, you have lost the amount of men that you would actually need to be able to, one, subdue him, but then two, also pile on top of him. even if you were able to have a certain amount of people, the idea that you could easily grab around, like their arms are thick. So you're going to have to wrap your entire arm around his body, like his arms, just to be able to try to hold him down. Only so many men can do that. They're going to be crushing other men while they're trying to reach for the arm. And in the process of doing that, he can just throw you off. Again, all of this is predicated on the idea that some way you have the ability to be able to sync up with the other men to coordinate your attacks. What's most likely going to happen is that a bunch of the men are going to charge in at the same time.
That's not going to happen. That's never happened. Let's go back to the scenario what the young lady was saying about the woolly mammoths. Even back then, those prehistoric men that were so dumb and stuff like that, but they actually had enough sense to make cave paintings.
So what's the French coast is there to think about?
So those prehistoric men back in the day, they were so stupid and so illiterate, but they had enough common sense in order to somehow create something that resembles paint and coloring to draw cave paintings. But they were stupid though. Okay, so woo. All right. So this is the case here. You know, she's sitting around here thinking that 100 men are just so foolish they're just gonna all bum rush the gorilla without any strategy. You know, weapons or not, men are not just gonna just rush anything. We are gonna use a strategy. And she talking some way like maybe it's supposed to be some type of telepathy. No, that's not how men work. We actually talk to each other, strategize, break the problem down, figure out what angles to actually use, whether the gorilla is going to be the weakest. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be from behind. So, you know, man, come on, bro.
Coordinated, and that in and of itself would not be enough to take him down.
Okay.
Which is why I say at the end of the day, the women would have the best chance. We can communicate information with each other just by looking at each other. I think that women would have better.
Women can communicate with each other just by looking at each other. So women on this planet have telepathy.
Coordination skills as a group that would allow us to even have a little bit of a leg up when it comes to the attack. Do I still think that humans would be able to beat 100 humans would be able to beat a gorilla reliably? Absolutely not. But I think we would have better organization skills. I think regardless of the fact, it's just really interesting how it proves the point that this is rooted in misogyny from the responses that I'm getting to that original video.
Misogyny. Yeah. Well, it's misogyny that built the world. The skyscrapers and stuff like that, you know, the mass amount of women are not wanting to get on. The thousands of years of okay, so if it's misogyny, where were all the women folk when those cavemen were fighting all those woolly mammoths back in the day?
So what the French toast is there to think about?
Yeah, right. Man, why everything got to be misogyny? Man, some of these chicks got to stop with this misandry. They got to stop with this misandry, bro. This is crazy out here. She's saying it's misogynist because men are talking about this conversation. Oh, Jesus, man. This is wild right here. But listen, look. See, this is the thing, and this is the problem right here. She's so delusional that she don't understand that, yes, we won't just charge in like idiots. We are going to come up with a strategy. Men have always strategized with each other for thousands of years. That's how we've got buildings built, synagogues and the Roman temples and all this. It was strategy. We came together and came up with a plan in order to construct these buildings and structures and, you know, grow these crops. And she's just thinking that she has such a diminished thought process about men till she just think that we're still like we're barbarians or cavemen in the mind, when even cavemen back in the day were smart enough to make cave paintings. They created paint to make cave paintings for them to draw the little stick figures on those cave walls to see the react the scenes, the made little movies on cave walls, showing how they attacked the woolly mammoth with fucking spears and shit thousands of years ago. What is she talking about?
So what the French toast is there to think about?
This is the crap I be talking about. Some of these women talking out the side of their neck and trying to diminish. Man, come on, man. Man, this is crazy. But yeah, though, it just is what it is, man. You talking about 100 men and one gorilla, and the gorilla's agility it's not going to last as long as a man's agility will. Let's put a gorilla in the 400 meter race and see how long the gorilla is going to last in the 400 meter race against a man on the track. Let's bring that topic up. Let's see how fast, because a gorilla is fast in short bursts. These are facts. In short bursts, a gorilla is fast. Can get up to maybe 20 something miles an hour, a little bit more, you know what I'm saying, in short bursts. But eventually their energy runs out. They're not capable of going long distance running like men are. So, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. All right, man. Shit. It is what it is, though. Shout out to all my subscribers. Mad love to y'all. If you're new to the channel, please hit that like, share, subscribe button. Make sure you ring that bell to be notified whenever I decide to post things. And like I always say,
and that, my friends, is the bottom line.
That, my friends, is the bottom line. This is crazy. These people are wild out here.